On today's episode, I spoke with Caleb Avery about B2B marketing, personal branding, and helping customers market to their customers. Caleb is the CEO of Tilled and has been building a personal brand for years, so he's uniquely qualified to talk to us about the value of that effort in his own marketing for his company. Let's dive right into the episode. Let's start on the LinkedIn front. As somebody who has been writing on LinkedIn, creating content there, for a while now, what, in your opinion, makes LinkedIn a compelling channel to actually be a creator on?
So I think, first and foremost, that's where, our buyers hang out. And so it's obviously important to put out content, where your partners and the customers that you're targeting, hang out. But I think for me, one of the things that we've discovered over the last couple of years of putting out content on LinkedIn is that there's really this opportunity to connect on a personal level with our customers and with our buyers. And I do that through my personal brand. And so, yes, we're building up a company following. Yes, we have a page for Till, but surprisingly, the bulk of our leads that we get from social and from LinkedIn actually come from my personal LinkedIn, from the posts, the blogs, the ebooks, the podcasts, that I'm putting out as an individual. And when you look at LinkedIn as a platform, I think the statistics are something like less than 1% of users on LinkedIn actually post content. And so you as an individual have this incredible opportunity to build your personal brand that, one is tremendously helpful for the current company that you're at, but it also builds this, incredible value, over your career if you're willing to put in the time and energy to build that out.
So on that front, when you talk about building a personal brand as well as a company brand, what does that balance look like for what you're doing at Tilled, but also with yourself? Because I know most people will say it's easier to create a personal brand than a
Mhm.
company page, for example, but you're doing both. How do you think about the balance of what goes on a company page or what goes through your personal brand?
Certainly. So, when we started, I think it was about 3 years ago, really heavily investing into LinkedIn as a channel. We really started with my personal brand. So the company brand was really on the back burner in the early days. And some of that was just based on the actual resources that we had, at the time where I was doing, most of the content creation, working with a ghostwriter to come up with some of the initial content, but we didn't have an entire team of people thinking about, the content strategy and writing content and coming up with posts. And so really focused the limited, time, energy, resources that we had on my personal brand. And so initially, it was really this combination of kind of personal content. So post about my kids, post about me on the golf course, things that I do in my, day-to-day life, coupled with, business posts about, the progress at Tild, our fundraising, our customers, traction, just sharing the entrepreneurial, journey. And now as the company has matured and we have the ability to have, more, marketing, dollars, and more, team members, it's a bit more balanced where, we're posting a couple of times a week on my LinkedIn, a couple of times a week, on Tilt LinkedIn. And really it's finding this balance of that strategy where the Tilt LinkedIn is obviously much more focused on, Tilt the business, and my content is more skewing, towards kind of my personal brand at this point.
I'd love to walk through really quickly the logistics behind your
Mhm.
strategy. So, how much time you're spending every week or every day on LinkedIn creating, how much time you're spending engaging with other people, how often you're looking to do that. What have you found is the right mix logistically for all of this content creation?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think for me, when we started out, it looked a little bit different than necessarily what the time commitment looks like today. When I started out, I had no idea how to write content. I wasn't comfortable on the platform. And I started out with like, what's the lowest time commitment that I can get away with and still have an impact, on the platform. And so where I started was hiring a ghostwriter, and we did a 30-minute interview every week. And then she would put together a blog that we would turn into 3 or 4 posts. And so I do this 30-minute interview, and then it'd probably take me, 30, 45 minutes to edit the content that you put together, get that posted out, online, use something like Hootsuite to pre-schedule, posts. And then really where I started to see the value was engaging with the community, engaging with the people, that were interacting with me. And that's actually where I think the bulk of the time, ends up being taken up. Nowadays where, okay, you put out a post and you got 40 comments. Well, that actually takes a lot of time, to engage with those folks and go through, LinkedIn DMs where we get, all sorts of great traffic, for the business. And so at this point, I mean, it's hours every single week, that go into that process.
Yeah, I'd love to talk more about the engagement side of this as well. Often overlooked as a way to not only, build goodwill, but also to actually grow. How do you
Mhm.
think about your engagement strategy? Who are you trying to reach out to? How did you decide on, what that all should look like?
Yeah, absolutely. And so for us, we're targeting a couple different, target audiences. And so I think it starts with defining who are the people that you actually want, to connect with online. And so for us, it's targeting the decision makers at ISVs and vertical software companies, which are our target, customers at Tild. We also leverage a referral channel. And so those are things like agents, ISOs, payments consultants, people from the traditional payments community. And so that actually ends up being where a lot of my network and a lot of the engagement comes from are folks that have been through the same type of journey, that I've been on in my career, starting as, an ISO going out, door to door. And so I connect and relate, with a lot of those folks, but also, investors as well. And so we've got all sorts of different strategies that we employ on a weekly basis where, HubSpot lead form comes into the business. Okay, great. Let's go connect with 5 or 10 people at that target, company. Okay, we're, interacting with this investor. Let's go, add, 3, 4, 5 people, from their team. And so to me, it starts with that defining of, the ICP and the target, customers, and then developing these repeatable strategies where, okay, when this event or this action happens, or I have a meeting on my calendar, let's make sure that we're automatically adding, these folks that are all relevant, to Tild and I think would appreciate, my content or the Tild, company content.
Zooming out of this a little bit, I'm sure that you probably started more with goals that you wanted to hit first, and then you figured out, all right, what's all the stuff that we need to do. So, for other people, other busy founders, or other people that are kind of listening to this, thinking I should probably do the same thing that they're doing and build a personal brand for my company, what are the metrics that you started out really optimizing everything around to try to hit?
Yeah, it's an interesting question. I think for me, when we first started, I think I'd be lying to sit there and say I had these fantastic targets and goals, lined up. When we first started, it was really this dual strategy where we had an outbound strategy lined up, and then I was starting to post on LinkedIn, and we were seeing like 10x lead flow coming from LinkedIn relative to our traditional outbound strategy. But one of the mistakes that we made was not recognizing that the quality of that inbound organic lead flow is not always going to be as high quality as some of the lead flow that you'll get if you're doing more of a targeted outbound strategy. And so for us, I think initially we had something like an 85% MQL to deal conversion ratio, which sounds great on paper, except that we're putting all of this kind of garbage, through to our operations team. And so for us, one of our key decisions, which may sound counterintuitive, was actually cutting that conversion ratio in half. And so, we went from an 85% MQL to deal conversion ratio down to about a 40%, MQL to deal, conversion ratio for us. But the great thing was we were able to spend more time thinking about attracting the right types of customers top of funnel, and we actually saw relatively consistent deal flow through that period where we were cutting that conversion ratio in half.
Are there any other ways outside of LinkedIn that you're also kind of trying to build your personal brand, whether newsletter, other social channels?
Uh, we have a Twitter, not particularly active. We have an Instagram, not nearly as active. LinkedIn really for me has been the channel that I've gone all in on. And I think some of it goes back to the earlier conversation about how much time, I end up spending on LinkedIn. And, if I'm spending whatever 4 hours a week on LinkedIn, I also have a lot of other duties, running Tilt. And so I can't afford to go spend 4 hours on Twitter and 4 hours on Instagram or TikTok or whatever it was. So I actually made a pretty conscious decision where that's the only app that I have, from a social media perspective on my phone. That's the only app, that I engage with, personally, and it allows me to really focus in on LinkedIn, which is where we're seeing, the bulk of the results for Till.
So looking back at everything you've created so far, all the results that have come in because of that, how would you say what are some of the examples, I guess, of the value that has come through all the grind of writing the content, engaging with
Yeah.
people over the years? Like what are the examples of things that have actually come through the pipeline for you?
Yeah, I think for me, certainly it's exciting to see, customers coming through and hey, I got a LinkedIn DM and there's this great lead, for a customer. But to me, one of the things that I've been surprised about and I think, really proud of is how it's not just the customer lead flow that we're getting from LinkedIn. Okay, we've got a really important position that we want to hire for in the business. Well, we advertised, this position and this open job rec on my LinkedIn. We had 500 applicants in the first 48 hours for this key role. And those are the types of benefits that are really hard to quantify. When you have this incredible time to fill on your open positions, you've got investors coming inbound to you, we've got referral partners coming inbound, we've got strategic partners, coming inbound. And so for me, it's really looking at kind of the culmination of all the exciting opportunities that we have, going on at Tilt and recognizing how many of those incredible opportunities actually started with someone interacting with my content on LinkedIn or sending me a LinkedIn, DM. And so it's really that holistic, picture more than just kind of one individual accomplishment that really gets me excited.
Are there any like things that you were doing early on in this process of building your personal brand where you would actually, if you look back, you would say, "Oh, don't do that. I wish I hadn't have done that." Any regrets or anything you've learned that's not best practice that you were doing?
Um, Anything that I would do differently. I think for me, when I look back at, what we were doing in the early days, I waited a really long time to start sharing more personal content. I was really focused on putting out, industry blogs and commenting on something that Visa is doing or MasterCard or PayPal, is doing in the industry because I think this misconception that if I was, opening up and sharing, personal content on the platform that it wouldn't be well received, by folks in my audience. And once we started sharing, you know, uh, me golfing or on a boat or, with my kids or whatever, I think we started to see, a pretty dramatic increase in the engagement and interest, from people on the platform because they got the opportunity to know the real me, not just Caleb, the CEO, at Tild, which is obviously occupying a lot of my time, but there's, another Caleb that exists, outside of the podcast studio, here in the office. And so I think that's definitely been, one of the things that I wasn't doing early on that we changed kind of midway through and really, have seen, much, much better results and engagement since.
Yeah, I think one of the things that a lot of people struggle with is thinking through, okay, I can write this post or I can do that, I can engage with these different people, but what's supposed to happen after that? What does the funnel look like from somebody going from reading my post to achieving or accomplishing the action that I'm hoping for? Could you walk me through how you thought through after somebody reads a post, what you're hoping that the user or the reader will do?
Yeah, certainly. So for us, I think it goes back to thinking through the different types of ICPs that we're targeting with the business. And so some of the content that we're putting out is focused on investors, some is focused on referral partners, some is focused on, clients directly. And so when you think about, a referral partner coming through, it's a very different action that we're looking to get them to take. And so being really intentional about, okay, I'm putting out a podcast that's focused on, ISOs and agents in the payment space. Okay, great. Well, here's, partners at tild.com email address, which is the right action for them to take, coming into the business versus, a post that's more focused on, ISVs and software companies. It's a different call to action, for them where we're actually looking to go through a qualification process with them. And we want them to fill out a form on the website so that we can evaluate whether they're, the right partner for Tild and then get them on, a call with, our sales team. And so I think given the way that we have gone about our strategy of, targeting multiple different personas, we've really tried to be intentional about creating different journeys for each of those different personas to make sure that they're coming into the right point at Tild. We're tracking that data, accurately, which I think was a really difficult thing for us to, figure out the lead attribution when, someone's commenting or LinkedIn, DMing me is a little bit harder than if they're filling out the form directly, on the website. And so there was a lot of thought needing to be placed in the early days into how we set up the right tracking to make sure that we're attributing these fantastic results, to the right effort and energy that we're putting in.
I want to shift gears just a little bit to something that you've brought up before, which is this idea of B2B2B, which I'd love for you to just kind of explain that a little bit more in depth. What is B2B2B? Adding the extra 2B, what does that look like at your company? What is it?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think it's definitely been one of the bigger lessons that we've learned over the course of this year. Where at Tild we do payback as a service for those of you looking out at home, checking out the neon sign. But we're targeting ISVs and vertical software businesses. So let's think about like a golf course management platform. Well, that golf course management platform has to go sell a golf course. And so, in order for Tild to realize value and our partner to realize value for embedding Tild into their platform, they actually have to go close another sale. And one of the mistakes that we made early on was focusing too much energy on the B2B part of that B2B2B sale. And so we were largely leaving our partners kind of on their own to go figure out how to go close, that next deal. And one of the things that we've learned, over the years, now having worked with 100 plus, software companies is that for a lot of these vertical software businesses, they are not experts on selling payments to their merchants, which in hindsight sounds pretty obvious. But it wasn't, one of those conclusions that we came to initially. And so, over the course of the last, 9, 12 months, we really leaned in to help our customers. So the B2B sale, selling our customer, helping them learn how to sell an embedded payment solution to their merchants. And so, we're leaning in, working with them on pricing strategy, email campaigns, ad copy, in-app messaging programs, landing pages, all of the things that they need to learn how to be more effective in that in sale. Because for us, our revenue is typically an attach rate, model. So we're getting a take rate on every dollar that's processed, through our system. And so for us, there's certainly some value in closing that initial, B2B sale, but the bulk of our value and the bulk of the value for our clients is realized through that final kind of B2B2B, sales motion. And so, over the last couple of months, as we've started to optimize, that part of our business, we've started to see, much different results for us, much different results, for our clients. And I think, our clients overall, that have been leaning in with us on this new process are much happier, with the results, that they're seeing.
So for any B2B company that's out there listening to this, how would they be able to discern if they should kind of be looking at doing the same thing? Is this widely applicable, or do you think this is unique to your business?
I mean, it's definitely not unique to just Till, but it's certainly something that you need to take a look, at your business and figure out, is this really the core problem that's preventing me from realizing the revenue and driving the growth rates, that I was expecting, in the business. And for us, as we started to dig in and ask questions and look at the data, in our business, it just became very obvious that this was the missing cog, in the wheel, for us. And so I think for other entrepreneurs that are trying to diagnose, like, hey, why isn't my business, growing as quickly as they are? If you start to realize that you are involved in a B2B2B, sales motion, and you're not proactively and positively influencing every aspect, of that customer journey, you're really rolling the dice, on your business. And there's a tremendous opportunity to kind of take matters into your own hands, and proactively and positively influence, that entire journey.
Last question here, and then we'll wrap things up. I'm sure over the course of time you have built up kind of a tech stack, a tool belt of things that you rely on really heavily, and you've tried out even more that haven't worked out. What are the marketing tools specifically that are in your tool belt that you don't feel like you could live without if they went away?
Yeah, certainly. So from a content perspective, we've leveraged Hootsuite, which has been, fantastic for us to just work through content and pre-schedule content out. HubSpot is a huge part, of our marketing stack, really the backbone from a data perspective of everything that we do. And I'd be lying if there wasn't a little bit of Chat GPT that we're occasionally leveraging to really put the proper spin, on some of the content that we're pulling together.